Alright everybody, and I am really sorry for the late video upload. I know that you all been waiting for this one, and this is kind of like the project that landed me a cool job, to be honest. That's why I didn't have that much time to upload this one. So even though I just wanted to win at this 3.js journey challenge, I didn't mention to do so, but I was not that much disappointed. And for those who don't know, the 3.js journey challenge is basically the 3.js journey is the course for 3.js. I think that's one of the best courses, if not the best. I think the best. And yeah, each month there is some kind of challenge for you to push your limits to see what you can do. People actually vote for some kind of ideas each month, and then some of the cool projects like first, second, and third place, they are picked to be shown at the 3.js journey page and also on LinkedIn and X. Previously, I won some challenge. Not necessarily won, but I got the third place. It was this one, Deepest Ocean. Not sure why only mine is kind of like loading here. But yeah, feel free to take a look at this one. Even though I didn't win the last competition, I think still, is a really nice result. So as you already see the gameplay from this project. So here's the project. It's more or less of like simple game experience where you can just you can move the camera. It's like first person shooter. I didn't see that many first person shooter projects on 3.js, to be honest. There were a couple, but it's super niche, I'd say. Also the setups, they kind of like make a really good impression, I think, because it's not necessarily the shader itself, it's just the setup. The fireball effect of Projectile, I think that's the name. Everything starts with the canvas, of course, that we have here. We have the canvas, and on top we have the game UI overlay, which is basically it. Here, as you can see, guys, we have this overlay. It's just on top. Some of the CSS magic here involved as well, just to make it kind of like on top. And that's the only thing I did, basically. And everything here is wrapped by the context so that the game UI is aware of what's happening. And that's about the setup of the UI and the canvas. Now, going through the canvas, let's take a look at the scene. We have this scene here. That's our 3D scene. And the most important thingy on the first person shooter setup is the pointer lock controls. So the pointer lock controls is basically something that you already see here. So it kind of like takes over the screen, the whole, not the screen, not necessarily the screen, but the canvas, and do not it basically doesn't allow us to see the cursor. As you can see here on the 3.js official documentation, I think there was some kind of like example. Not sure if it's here. Yeah. So it kind of like does the same thingy. More or less the FPS setup is already made. But yeah, let's go further. So basically we have the pointer lock controls. The only thing that it needs after is, because we kind of grabbed our cursor, we need to also have some kind of action performed on the unlock. Basically when we click the escape, we use the escape button and we have unlocked. So here what I do is like set pause, which is set in the whole store, basically affecting the UI and sometimes the game loop itself as well. But you'll see that in the future. So yeah, that's more or less it in terms of the pointer lock controls. What it does, yeah, it already grabbed our cursor. It already is affecting our behavior. Basically, it's calculating the position of, let's say, this hidden cursor. And what we're doing with this is, within our stage, we have our player. In this player component, what I did here, basically, we have the use player control, which is the most important hook, I think, throughout the whole project. So what we can see here, we have basically all our inputs, the keys, and we also grab our camera position based on this pointer lock controls, and we're updating the matrix world here. We're doing also some kind of hacks, like to set the initial position, rotation of the player, but it doesn't really matter, to be honest. Here what we can see is basically we're setting the camera based on the input of the pointer lock controls, and that's it. The rest is just some not really important stuff. Let's go through quickly. The important stuff actually is here, is the use physical keyboard hook, which takes the code instead of the actual letters. Why? It's because the keyboard event code is as you can see, it represents a physical key. It doesn't matter which keyboard layout you have. You will have working setup for any kind of keyboard. Like some like French people, they use like AZERTY keyboard. We have QWERTY keyboard in Poland. So I think that's super important thingy. Also on 3.js Journey course, it's mentioned. But yeah, let's go further. What we have here is just the player setup, where we control kind of like the camera with the pointer lock controls. We also have the inputs. What else? I think I would also make some kind of simple explanation on what's happening. So basically we have our player here, right? Let's imagine it's the player, but actually it's kind of like represented with this kind of geometry, because it's also a rigid body, because we use here the physical engine. So as you can see, we have our setup, but also our player is kind of like a rigid body, because we can interact with the environment here. So what it means is basically we have this rigid body, this capsule collider, and we have somewhere our camera. We have this camera angle, and what we're doing is we're just grabbing the camera rotation, right? And this hook that I just previously showed you guys, this hook is basically grabbing the position and the rotation of the camera and basically reapplying it to the rigid body. And that's basically it, because we don't want to make it backwards, like a rigid body affects our camera. It's also possible, but in our setup we don't want this to happen. So that's kind of like the setup for the first person shooter in three.js. I think that's, just to me, it's one of the best setups that I came up with. Also, I didn't see that much information on this topic, but yeah, you can try. You can see how it's performing in different game setups. So yeah, let's go to as you can see, as I mentioned, the rigid body is wrapping the capsule collider. What also is good to mention is the arms. The guy that made those arms, literally, I'm just an OG guy, because that's the only free, like, the arms. So I couldn't actually find anything like this online, but yeah, it's free. So credentials are there in the project. It's going to be in the description as well, so feel free to use it. Okay, and also the storage of this. I'm kind of doing like this setup when I store any assets like this on the GitHub pages. So basically what you do is you put the files there, and when you set up the Netlify or something, or maybe you use Versal, so you do not use that much of the resources of the Netlify. You kind of like, it's like I don't know what the word should be for this. It's like you make the assets on a different resource, and then you just load it dynamically. That's it. Don't know the proper word for that, to be honest. So what else we have here is just a generated setup from the from this resource. I think it's like this. Just drag and drop in its generated. Then you just need to adjust some of the actions that the 3D model performs. What else we have in our setup? Of course, we have the projectile. Projectiles that are coming from the arms. So basically, it's basically a ball, which is like with a lot of polygons. That's what I did here. So yeah, and the rigid body is also like a wrapper for this mesh. And basically, yeah, we have the ball collider, because there are some standard colliders that we can use. So for this one, ball kind of like represents what it is. And yeah, in here, what we are doing, I'll also show you. Basically, we have our player rigid body, we have our camera, and we have some kind of super small mesh here to represent the aim. That's just what I did. It could be also like an UI overlay or whatever. But yeah, this is what our players see, and this is going to be the direction of the projectile. Here we have also like our arms, right? And what we're doing is, just by experimenting, I found the place where this projectile could kind of create itself, and it was like here, right? This is our like fireball, and from here we also know the position of the player, we know the direction of the camera, and what we're doing is we're just creating the this fireball and giving it some kind of velocity. So here are the settings for the projectile. And also, just to make it super like robotic and unnatural, I gave here a bit of like small random position of the direction. I mean, so that here is like going not all the same to this, like through the straight line, but with a bit of like difference. And this is the concept. Also, what we need to do is basically on the impact of something, let's say there's some kind of like body, the rigid body that we have, maybe an instanced rigid body like the towers we have on this project or something. So what we're going to do is, upon the impact of this ball, it kind of touches it, because the physics engine also works in kind of like steps. Let's say 50 milliseconds. So like each step it kind of scans. Is there any difference? Is there any touches of the meshes? And let's say our ball just flies towards this target. There are no changes, it just flies. Then upon the impact, what we're scanning is okay, did it touch something here? Okay, it did. This is done under the hood basically. And upon this touch of the other mesh, we have here on collision, and basically that's what's gonna do the whole like explosion thingy, because what we're going to do here, upon the collision of the collision of the ball and the tower, we're gonna explode. what is an explosion here in this case? It's going to be just the force from this position of the mesh to all the sides with some kind of magnitude. I'm not sure if it's visible. Yeah, like this. Like to all the sides with some kind of magnitude. Just like we did here, we specify the force and stuff. And what we're doing is on top of this kind of like explosion, the force, we're doing some kind of shader work to make the effect of the explosion. Sorry for those drawings. It's embarrassingly bad, but I think you got the concept. And that's more or less it. I think I'm just gonna leave the link in the description below so that you can just take a look. You can play around with the project. And yeah, that's how it's done more or less. Sorry, because I couldn't actually prepare for this video, but I know you guys been waiting for this one. And yeah, the next video is going to be more quality. See ya.